take a look at what YouTube is recommending me. I'm just scrolling down my feed, and I don't know about you, but there's this section here, and they always have videos like this. See that? They're coming after your kids, folks. Hide your children. They are coming after them. If you have children, God, I hope you're not muzzling them up like in this photo. But if you have children, you better be protecting them at all times, because they are serious when they want your children to have this shit in their body. See this? I can't read this, otherwise the channel can get a you-know-what. See this? 6 to 11-year-olds. See that? CBS, CNN, NBC. What's the news report? Putting a chemical concoction into your child. Look, this one still has a chance. These ones, not so much. But you got this one back here. That represents me and you.
An FDA advisory panel has voted to recommend Pfizer's COVID vaccine for kids ages 5 to 11. This move sets up a series of steps that could make the shot available for 28 million kids ahead of the holidays. If authorized, it'll be the first COVID vaccine available for younger children in the U.S. Let's go right to Sam Brock now, who's been following this all day. What's the latest?
Lester, this was a panel of experts, 19 of them to be exact. A majority of those experts had to recommend the Pfizer vaccine for kids 5 to 11. We now know that the vote was 17-0 with one abstention. And what that means, Lester, is that this moves ahead now for full FDA authorization and CDC approval. Those things are likely to happen in the coming week or so, which could mean that children would be eligible to be able to get the Pfizer vaccine in the first week of November. With the data and the science that experts are trying to balance right now, and ultimately decided this would be better for the general public to get this vaccine approved, potentially, Lester, again, in the coming week. It is also worth noting that the federal government has given providers and hospitals the opportunity to obtain these doses ahead of time, with the federal government hoping to set up somewhere in the range of 25,000 pediatric sites to administer the vaccine. All this likely to unfold now in the coming week or so. Lester.
All right, Sam Brock, thank you. NBC senior medical correspondent Dr. John Torres is here. Dr. John, this would be a recommendation for emergency use authorization. Could that be a stumbling block for some parents?
And Lester, that is correct. It's for emergency use authorization, not full approval, much like the vaccines to date so far, except for the one Pfizer vaccine. But that potentially could be a stumbling block, because oftentimes parents say, I want to make sure it's fully approved before I take it, and even more so before my children take it. But like Sam was talking about, one of the big discussion points that came down is the safety of the vaccine, which was shown to be very safe in the trial, although it was a smaller trial, and potentially what might happen when more and more children get it versus the risk of getting COVID, which is a real risk. And one of the researchers actually came down and said, you know, this is a vaccine preventable disease. We have the opportunity to have a vaccine now for children. Let's go ahead and recommend this. And at the end of the day, they did. And I think that's what parents need to do. Have a good discussion with their doctor. Say, what risk are we at? Do we need to get the vaccine at this point? And then move forward with the vaccine, because again, you know, this is a vaccine. This is a virus that we know doesn't affect kids as much, but it does affect children. And around 100, unfortunately, have died from this virus, which this vaccine can now prevent.
All right, Dr. John Torres, thank you. Let me bring in pediatrician Dr. Richard Besser. He's also president and CEO of the Robert Wood Johnson Foundation and a former acting CDC director. Doctor, thank you for joining us. Talk about what parents should be considering right now, as this apparently is coming closer to shots being in arms.
Yeah, I watched the hearings all day, Lester, and what it came down to, I think, for the experts is that this is something, the vaccine's safe and effective. It's something that parents should have a choice in. I talk to parents every time I'm in clinic about vaccines. It's really important that parents get their questions answered. Are you sure it's safe? Are you sure it's effective? What are the pros and cons here? I think it's absolutely terrific that we are on the path to having a safe and effective vaccine for young children. There have been over 8,000 hospitalizations in the 5 to 11-year-old group, more than 1.9 million cases. And we vaccinate against quite a number of diseases that cause less problem than that. There have been over 150 deaths in this age group. And 5 to 11-year-old, that's not an age where you expect children to die. It's absolutely devastating. The ability to give parents that choice, the opportunity for them to decide whether to protect their children, that's going to be huge going forward this winter.
And in terms of what happens now, there's these final approvals. Is it pretty perfunctory at this point that we'll get to final approval?
Well, I don't think so. And I was really pleased today to see a very robust debate diving into the evidence. And, it's clear that in a situation like this, during a pandemic, you need to make decisions based on incomplete data.
And, it's clear that in a situation like this, during a pandemic, you need to make decisions based on incomplete data. And, it's clear that in a situation like this, during a pandemic, you need to make decisions based on incomplete data.